Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our conversation featuring amazing Black women-led organizations and companies. Thank you to our host, PiperWai, for bringing us together. My name is Rahma Wright, and I am the founder of Shailene, a DC-based social impact company I started after serving in the Peace Corps. And what my company does is we bring high-quality, natural, organic shea butter products to the U.S. market that generates living wage jobs for women in northern Ghana. And today I am joined by Sarah Ribner, the CEO of PiperWai, Michelle Sahina, co-founder of From Privilege to Progress, Chioma Ngudo, CEO of Cee Cees Closet, Obia Iwa, CEO of Obia Natural, Eve Carr Momperus, CEO of Kreyol Essence, and we will also have Karen Young, CEO of Oui the People, joining us shortly. Welcome, ladies. I'm really excited to have this opportunity to chat with you over the next hour. What it means to be a woman in business, what it means to be a Black woman in business, and how you started your organizations and companies, and just give our audience the opportunity to hear your stories. But let me first just start by saying all of this Black girl magic is exactly the vibe we need for 2021.
Yay!
I don't know about you guys. Black women coming together, lifting each other up, supporting each other. This is the vibe. This is the vibe. And I don't know about you guys, but I am grateful that I made it to 2021. Now, for those of you in the chat, I need you to drop in an amen, a namaste, a assalamu alaikum, whatever your faith, if you are happy and glad that you made it through last year.
Praise them. I'm about to have church in here, y'all.
Amen.
That's right,
Amen,
that's right.
Amen, amen.
So with that, I'm going to ask everyone to just give us a very brief intro on you and your brand, and I'm going to start with Eve Carr.
Hi, everyone. Eve Carr Momperus. Feel free to call me Evie, CEO and founder of Kreyol Essence. Kreyol Essence brings organic and natural beauty and wellness products from Haiti to the world. And I am super excited to be here and amongst all this amazing Black girl magic, as Rahama stated.
Thank you, Eve Carr. Chioma?
Hi, everyone. My name is Chioma Ngudo. I am the co-founder and CEO of Cee Cees Closet NYC. We are a Black woman-owned gorgeous fashion and accessories line. We are handmade. We handmake our products in Nigeria and Ghana and Brooklyn as well, most recently. Most known for our stunning head wrap, but we've also expanded it to gorgeous clothes and jewelry so we can keep you fly from head to toe, baby.
That's right. That's right. Obia?
Yes, for some reason, sorry, my video has been disabled.
Oh, okay. We still see your
awesome.
beautiful picture.
Awesome. So my name is Obia Iwa, and I'm the CEO and formulating chemist of Obia Naturals. We formulate and manufacture our own skincare products and hair care products for both men and women. All our products are vegan, pH balanced, and natural. And oh, here comes my video. Okay, well, our products are vegan, pH balanced, and natural, and I'll get more into my story as we go a little bit further.
Awesome. Michelle?
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Sahne. I am CEO of Michelle's Life Coaching and co-founder of From Privilege to Progress. I'm a life coach, racial identity coach, and From Privilege to Progress is an organization that started in 2018. If everyone remembers when the two Black men were arrested in a Philadelphia Starbucks for not buying a coffee. I was the woman that spoke up. My now business partner, Melissa, who just happens to be a white woman, she posted the video, it went viral. We met that day, we teamed up, and now we do speaking engagements and help people understand their personal power and privilege to make a difference and influence for social justice.
That's amazing. Sarah?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm the CEO and co-founder of PiperWai. So we started with an all-natural cream deodorant that comes in this fun little package, which is now going to be in recycled ocean waste plastic. So all of our formulas are better for you and now better for the planet. And we consider ourselves a full range of hygiene products. So we have hand sanitizer and a body wash launch pending. And we grew by going on Shark Tank, ABC season 7. And thank you so much, Rama, for moderating the panel, and really excited to have everyone here.
Oh, no. Yeah. Thank you for having us. So for everyone that's tuning in, you can already tell that this panel is coming with some hard hitters. These are women who have taken moments and turned them into movements, taking ideas and turning them into national global brands. And so I really want to encourage you to start dropping your questions into our chat. We're going to dive into a conversation, but we also want to hear from you. We want to know where you're from, where you're at. We want to hear about your ideas and the businesses that you're trying to create. And with that, I know that starting a business, starting an organization is not easy. There are so many ups and downs. And so I wanted to ask everyone to share what compelled you to start your business or organization, and why did you feel like you were the best person to start the business or the organization? I'm going to start with you, Chioma.
Oh, okay. Well, excited to go first. I'll say that what compelled me to start my business was actually a trip back home to Nigeria after I graduated from college. When I went back in 2015, it was the first time I had gone back in 10 years. And when I arrived, when I touched down, I think I hadn't realized how many Western concepts and ideas of Blackness and of Africa I had internalized in my 10 years away that I had now carried with me back home. And going back, I saw the beauty and vibrancy of my culture and the people and just saw the amazing things that we could do. And I felt like that story was not being told here. And I felt that I was the perfect person to tell that story. One, because I got a loud mouth and I'm not going to let anyone else tell me what to say. And two, I also felt that I wanted to do this with my sister because she has a creative eye that I think is extremely compelling. Like the pieces speak for themselves. Like I look fantastic. And it's all about making sure that we're showing that the African experience is, one, a global experience, but two, also really showing the beauty and value that there is there, because as we see that beauty and value, we can find that beauty and value in ourselves.
No, I love that. And I have African heritage as well. And I remember being young, I did not want to wear the clothes my mom would make for us using those patterns. And I completely agree with you. It's completely changed. Now we have, Wakanda, we have people who want to dress and look more African. I love that. Michelle, you truly took a moment and turned it into a movement. I've stalked every single one of you guys online, and I am just like awe-inspired that, one, you are a witness. Not only were you a witness, but you took that and turned it into something to drive change, not only, in Philly, but nationally and globally. Can you tell us, kind of what that journey has been like?
It's been absolutely incredible. It made me realize that I feel like fate was involved that day, and I was literally guided by my ancestors to go to that Starbucks that day because I never even liked that Starbucks. It was never diverse. I would always walk past that Starbucks another 3-4 blocks to go to a different Starbucks deeper in Philadelphia that I saw that was more diverse. And my story is very similar to Chioma's. I went to Ghana in 2017, the first time in a decade, and I was blown away. I was like, what has been conditioned inside myself for me to see Africa as so different? I'm African, and I didn't quite feel like I understood my people, and it changed my life. I came back to America. I was a different person in only 2 weeks. And so when the Starbucks incident happened just a year later, when I saw these 2 men being arrested for not buying a coffee, I no longer saw them as Black Americans who were different than me. I was like, those are my brothers. Those are my brothers. Their heritage is, who knows if the atrocities of slavery hadn't taken place, those could be my neighbors, my family, my friends, and I saw them as my family. And so that's really what compelled me to stand up and say something. Almost everybody in that Starbucks was white that day, so it was even a bit more terrifying to say something and start raising my voice. I also have a loud voice, which is why people heard me. And they said, "What's going on?" And I was like, "They're being arrested for not buying us coffee, and half of you don't have coffee, so you understand what's actually happening in this moment." And it's been absolutely incredible. I think what's different about us is that my partner in this movement just happens to be a white woman, and I think even just the imagery of someone white and Black coming together and modeling the conversation, how to have a productive, respectful conversation about race is incredibly impactful for people, because it takes every single one of our involvements and accountability and responsibility to say, I'm going to influence the people around me. And I say everybody because I was part of that. I grew up in a completely white town in central Pennsylvania. And because of the racism I experienced for the majority of my life, I internalized that racism. And I started to see, I wanted to separate myself from what it meant to be Black American, because somewhere deep down inside of me, even though I was never taught about it, I knew that there was a negative stereotype, and I wanted to just be African because I just wanted to feel different. I just wanted to feel like I was, like, that experience couldn't happen to me, even though I knew it was happening to me my entire life. And so I say that because it took me a lot of years to undo the conditioning that I had been brought up with, being, you know, experiencing the racism and internalizing it. And it took a long time for me to come through that. And so I feel like the work that I'm doing right now is essential. You know, there's a lot of talk right now about anti-racism and dismantling white supremacy. We've been doing this since before it got, I would say, trending. And so I just feel like it's really important that every one of us look inside of our hearts and ask ourselves, how have we been conditioned? How can I undo that? How can I unlearn the things that I have been learning in America right now? I'm in Ghana. How can I unlearn that? And how can I relearn how to be authentically inclusive in my everyday life? So it's been just an incredible 3 years.
Yeah. No, I can, one, thank you for being so vulnerable, because I do think within our community, it's hard for us to acknowledge that we as Black people have also internalized racism, and how that shows up in our world. And similarly to you, I grew up in upstate New York, you know, in a very non-diverse white environment. And so I can relate to some of the things that you're speaking of. Eve Carr, I know that you also have a connection to your Haitian roots, and it's something that compelled you, in addition to your story behind, you know, taking care of your hair and wanting to identify natural products to take care of your skin and hair, but you also have this incredible supply chain story where you're working in the community to make change. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I've had quite an experience with my culture in college. You know, it's that time of discovery, and somehow the light bulb went off that, oh my God, I'm Haitian, and I'm proud of it, and I want to connect and be all things Haiti. And that got me very involved in the community, in the nonprofit sector, in mobilization. And one of the key things I kept tracking as I was working here in the United States on behalf of those in Haiti, as well as Haitian Americans here, is that there were so many challenges. And when I could connect them all together, what I found that most of the issues, it stemmed from challenges around money, education, health. No matter what problem you would bring to me or my organization, it came down to money. So simultaneously, I was going to an event. I was single. I was in the market for a husband. Many of us remember that, if you are not in it right now. And I asked my hairdresser to straighten my hair because I was going to a business school, a Wharton event. And, you know, I was at the School of Government, and me and my friends, our thought was, we'll marry businessmen who will fund our social endeavors, and we'll save the world that way.
I love it.
So my hair did look great that day. It was fabulous. And I did find a husband, which is Stefan, my COO. But the bad news is, when I washed my hair the next day, it all fell out. And yes, you see, everybody's like, "What?" So after crying, like any good millennial, I called my mom and I said, "What's that oil you used when I was growing up that solved all of our problems? You know, grandma uses it if she's hurt, when we're sick, you know, dry scalp, any issue, you pull out this oil." And she said, also known as Haitian castor oil. So I lived in Philadelphia at the time. I ran to the store, but everything I found on the shelf had hexane, bleach, and other additives. It's just not the oil that I grew up with. So I begged my mom to send me some from what I call the Haitian or immigrant stash. You know, it's things that you cannot find in the Western world easily, and that it's in very, very high demand, but there's low availability. Right. So she sends it to me in a traditional Haitian rum bottle. And I laughed and I looked at it and I said, how is something that is so important to our culture? There's not a Haitian person you will speak to, or people in the Caribbean who's not familiar with black castor oil. How is it that we can't get it, readily available. And then we started to talk about the supply chain. How do we even make this castor oil so other people could have it? The fact that you have to work with farmers in order to produce the seeds. Women are the ones who have the knowledge on how to produce the oil. So we work with over 300 farmers to produce our castor oil. 60 women are involved in the production, and they run the facility. And you don't hear a lot about manufacturing being run by women. The fact that you have to export the product. We export 90% of our product here to the US. And the idea that instead of focusing on the poverty and the challenges that Haiti has, focusing on the beauty, the facts that we're one of the most biodiverse countries in the Caribbean, the uniqueness of the culture, changing that conversation and narrative from the poorest country to the Western Hemisphere to a beautiful bottle of black castor oil that you can get at Ulta or Whole Foods or other places helped to change the conversation and the relationship people had with the country. So our whole philosophy as a company is that in order to solve poverty, in order to help with the environment and to ensure that we do real development work that's lasting, is that you have to have a product that people love and that they want to come back to. And it's not just because, they want to give a donation. And it's with that Kreyol Essence began.
I love it. Every time I hear this story, I'm just like goosebumps. Like, I absolutely love it. I'm going to move to you, Obia, to tell us about your company.
So my company actually, so I'm Nigerian as well too. I feel like we all have some roots somewhere. So my company actually started because in college I went back to Nigeria for the first time in a long time, and like everyone else, I was like, "What is all this?" So that inspired me to actually be a doctor. So my journey is a little bit different because it inspired me to be a doctor, and I actually wanted to study sickle cell research because a lot of people, in Nigeria have sickle cell. So I came back and I majored as an MD, MPH. But I was pre-med in college. I studied chemistry because I actually had a challenge in chemistry. I wasn't really good in my sciences. So I double majored in chemistry and biology, not knowing that it would actually help me later to become the chemist that I am now. Then I went to medical school, MD, MPH, no plan B, no plan C, never had business in my, viewpoint at all. In my third year of medical school, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And there was zero family history of the thyroid cancer. And I'm like, where is this coming from? So that's when I decided to, it was something in my environment that made me sick. So I decided to change everything from my diet to what I put in my hair to everything. And it was around that same time when there was a study in public health that came out to link relaxers to fibroids. Because a lot of, people of African descent have fibroids. And before they thought that fibroids were due to sexual history, but why do 12-year-olds have fibroids? And so it was the first study that actually linked relaxer use to that. And I'm like, okay, well, what are other, things that relaxers can cause that people are not studying? Let me just stop it. But at that time, there was nothing that was healthy on the market that actually worked for thick, kinky hair. There's always products that work for people of like different races or, or mixed races. But I felt like, my type 4 kinky hair was represented in a vegan, clean, natural way, because before vegan, clean, those were not buzzwords in 2010. So I'm like, okay, well, I do know how to manufacture products. I actually worked as a chemist in, private label cosmetics, during my summer jobs and so on and so forth. So I created something for myself, not knowing that that would be shared with the world. And so here we are today. So 10 years later, we've been in Walmart, Target, all of these stores. And we're actually the first shampoo bar in Walmart because I didn't like liquid shampoo because I felt like it was stripping. So I created a shampoo bar that basically it's almost like I did everything for myself and I shared it with the world, but not knowing that I'm a representative sample of women that have sensitive skin, that want a cleaner product, that want natural products. And so that's how the story of Obia Natural started and, grew to where we are today.
Absolutely love it. And one of the common themes I'm seeing throughout is being able to identify a problem, but also that personal connection. So I love the fact that every single woman here is the solutions to the problems she's seeing around her. And with that, Sarah, I mean, you also, with your deodorant company, it started with wanting something natural. So, you spoke a little bit about being able to scale and being on Shark Tank. But in the early days, what was it like trying to craft something that worked for you, but then could be shared, like what Obia was saying in terms of nationally and globally?
Yeah, to your point, it started out of personal need. So I grew up as a product junkie. So my background is it's very mixed. So my mom's family is all from the American South, descended from enslaved individuals, grew up in Alabama, and my mom was the first one born in the North, in Ohio. And when she met my dad, his family had actually come from Poland. They're all Jewish. So they came to America to find new opportunities and to escape discrimination that they were facing in Poland. So very mixed background, and I also have quite a bit of Native heritage as well. So my experience with products growing up was I would buy products that are marketed to everybody. They said these work for all types of hair, skin types, basically claiming that everyone can use them. And similar to Eve-Car, I had my hair fall out multiple times. I had all kinds of ridiculous things like back acne, chest acne, face acne, acne on my armpits. I had just all kinds of body rashes. All my body just kept rejecting products, and I would try new products and more products, and I'd spend all this money on products growing up, and I was just constantly consuming things that weren't working. So when I went on this whole personal journey of trying to learn how to be more natural and understanding the links between personal care products and long-term illnesses, I started to see this trend that deodorant was the hardest thing to make the switch because it's a very personal issue. Other people can smell you if it doesn't work. And it's also linked to, it could be linked to stress. It could be linked to your hormonal state, various illnesses. So it's a very personal category. And I kept seeing this theme. So all the research I was doing to make my personal switch, I kept seeing other people saying they can't find a good natural deodorant. So when I went to my childhood friend and said, I want to start a brand and bring natural deodorant to the market, see if this is something that people want to try, see if this is something that they need. Within the first few years, it really did take off because we started as small handcrafting every order that came in to then applying through NAACP was doing a casting call for Shark Tank, immediately applied for that. And within a few months, we were out there able to tell the story and bring the product to international stage. So it was a product that we wanted to create something that everyone can use. And I stand by this. I've been using this product for 7 years, and it has done everything that it's supposed to do for natural deodorant. But first and foremost, we wanted it to be for diverse audiences. So all ages, genders, skin tones, skin types, something that when we say it's for everyone, we mean that it really is for everybody. And so that's something that's just kind of been to the core of our brand, and all the new product extensions. We always try to make sure, how are we hitting every need from different backgrounds to dietary restrictions, anything in between.
That is amazing. And I actually remember watching you on Shark Tank, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at this lady. I immediately ordered. I was just so proud. And same thing with Eve-Car. And I just feel like, again, this energy of us supporting our own, elevating and celebrating our own is so incredibly important. And with that, I want to bring into the conversation Karen Young of We the People, because she's also created an incredible brand that is all about celebrating people and bringing products to the masses that touch upon a lot of what everyone has talked about. Karen, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I just want to sincerely apologize to the audience. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. I swear I'm not a diva, but I was
diva.
So you've had another previous engagement. So thank you for making time.
Being caught in traffic jam. I was like, are we still talking? Okay, we're still talking. Oh my God. But I'm so happy to be here and to see these like beautiful brown faces. It's really nice.
So tell us about your journey as an entrepreneur, and the kind of what compelled you and propelled you to start your company.
Yeah, so I will short track it a little bit. After spending many years in fashion and trying my hand at my first company, got an opportunity to work for Estee Lauder, and within the doors of Estee Lauder. How do I say this in the politically correct way? But I found that I was overlooked in a number of different ways, certainly from a corporate level, but I was also, I found where I was being overlooked from a consumer level, Um, and I was just like, okay, well, this is beauty. And if you're going to do anything in beauty, it needs to really, really stand out. You can't just like launch another, body lotion or something. It has
Hmm.
something dynamic. And so I thought to myself, well, what's the one place that I'm really not being served? What's the one place that's like really, really, really sticky for me? Um, in terms of like trying to have a better product experience and what really bothers me. And I had literally shaved, a couple days before that, and I was covered in like razor burn and ink.
Yep.
And I have had that experience from the first time I ever even picked up a razor. And I was just like, well, everyone does, right? Like, isn't that just normal? I guess, I guess that's just the element, the sort of side effect of shaving. And it turned out everyone didn't. And I really started to explore that, and I found that people who look like me, and people who have thick, coarse, curly hair are more likely to experience that inflammation as a result of shaving. I got really nerdy from there, and I just dove in, and I was just like, I have to figure this out. And by then, I had known, that men have a different suite of products available to them when it comes to shaving. They too can show up at Dwayne Reed and purchase, a twin blade razor or something, or they can like roll up on the Art of Shaving, for example, and get this really luxury experience with all of the additional products that go with it. And it by far surpasses anything that you could get elsewhere. And I looked around and it was like, there's nothing like that for women. But here we are, we're like, dermaplaning our faces. We're using like these like roller needle things. We're putting like red light. I was just like, we're so experimental, and the entire market is treating us like we're stupid, like we
Right.
can't figure out how to use a slightly different or perhaps more complex product. And I really wanted to defy that. I know just looking at this group that we all are dynamic individuals who understand that there's a broad, there's a breadth, in terms of women and what we are capable of. And I felt like the industry was overlooking the fact that we were actually very, very smart individuals. And so We the People started with a razor and is born and sort of grows out of this concept that we can build a little bit of that countercultural, like, fuck you in the process. An
Love
incredible
it.
product.
Keeping it 100.
100, yes. I did say that in
No,
the last webinar, so I'm like stretching my arms.
no, I absolutely love that. And for those of you who are joining us, I really just want to quickly recap everything we've heard in the last 15 or so minutes in terms of developing your brand and building your vision. It starts with that personal connection. It starts with being able to identify and see yourself within the solution. And what Karen just talked about, really see what is being underserved in the marketplace. And that can be kind of the thing to set you up for a successful launch, for to eventually to turn that idea and turn it into something successful. So we all heard the statistic, right? Black women are starting businesses faster than any group in this country. Um, I feel like I see that stat like almost every day. What we don't often hear about, though, is our businesses are not as profitable. And the fact that the majority of our businesses are making less than 30K annually. Yes, less than 30K annually. That really isn't a business. And so over the last year, I would say that there has been an emphasis, particularly with large corporations, to support Black owned businesses. Right? We have the 15% pledge. We have business. I feel like every single corporation has made some sort of commitment to supporting Black businesses. So this question is going to be for everyone, which is, how has that movement impacted you? Are you seeing those commitments being just words, or are you actually seeing a benefit from large companies that want to invest in and want to support businesses that look like ours? And Chioma, I'm going to start with you.
Ooh, going first again. Hey. Um, so I think that I definitely have seen that influx. I think for us, because we produced our products with Black women specifically in mind, we never really took time to think about an audience that wasn't necessarily Black when it came to our different products. And so we had to really formulate ways to communicate that, one, at least in the way that we look at our products, it is we create with Black women in mind, but anyone can wear it. Like this top, anyone can wear it. This head wrap, anyone can wear it. So really making sure we got that message across in a way that still stayed true to who we are as a business, which is about celebrating the beauty and diversity of Black womanhood and our African heritage, but also making sure that people felt welcome to participate as well. So we've definitely seen an influx of a more diversification of our customer base, which was interesting at first because we were just like, I'm not sure how to answer your question because no one's ever asked me that before. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, no, it sounds like being able to, and we've heard this before, which is a lot of Black owned businesses, the misconception is that they're only creating products for Black customers. And
Exactly.
so to what you're saying is that being able to expand that audience and not only service Black customers has been one of the outcomes of this whole Support Black movement for you.
Yeah, for sure. And then also again, like grants that were really helpful in helping us bridge the gap. Like when the coronavirus really first started, for us we first saw a dip in online sales, and we were just like, oh crap, what's going to happen now? Because everyone was afraid and no one was sure what was going to happen. And thankfully it went back up, but that dip still did affect what we were trying to do for the rest of the year. And so there being grants available that helped us bridge that gap, that helped us continue to grow and push our business, we were actually able to continue to grow last year, which was like a big feat for us. So we were really, really excited about that. So I think that the commitment has been real. I think when people put their money where their mouth is, that's when I start listening. I really appreciated that. And then I also think that for us, it's really taught us how to really imagine our business even bigger than we were imagining it before. And so really, really pushing us to continue to push that envelope, to continue to grow our customer base while continuing to serve the people that are already with us as effectively as possible.
That's fantastic. How about you, Obia? Have you
So
noticed?
I have a little slightly different view because a lot of my business is e-commerce now, but before a lot of it was big box retailers. And big box retailers doing the 15% pledge, I think it's a little late. And the reason being is that, okay, so let me be politically correct here. Let me be politically correct because the majority of products that are marketed to Black people, whether relaxed hair, natural hair, whatever your hair texture, or even skin, are not made by Black people. So I feel like the 15% challenge is because there's only a few Black entrepreneurs that make products geared for us, by us, but we don't have the opportunity to be in those stores. So I think what they're saying by that is that they want to make sure that 15% of people on the shelf are actually the people that they're targeting to sell to, not necessarily that, the products there, because it's a 90, well, let me not state exact numbers, but majority of the products on the shelf, you would think that they're made by Black people or they have Black people behind them, but they have a Black face. But the people that make the money from the products or that manufacture the products are not Black people. That's where the 15% challenge comes from. When they said pull up or shut up, because if you look at the board, majority of these boards are not us, but they'll target our dollars, so I think that's where that's coming from. So there are a few stores that, early on, like Target, for example, had a lot of Black founders, but then now, well, I don't know how to not be politically correct because so we got into Target early, and even then Walmart started opening the doors, but as soon as they opened the doors, like for example, I'll just use myself for example, let me not speak on other people.
Yeah.
So my innovation is the shampoo bar, and it was the very first shampoo bar that was in Walmart, and then people like, oh wow, people like shampoo bars of color because a lot of people that and so then the next year, another company, a bigger conglomerate, copied my shampoo bar, literally didn't even change the name, called it Coconut Shampoo Bar, and knocked me off the shelf. because they had
Mm.
money to have commercials on TV, and I didn't have money to have commercials on TV.
Mm.
So I'm like, you let me in the door, but you didn't support me to stay on the shelf for that one product that you guys, featured. To all, like, they featured it at the Walmart conference, like their innovative product for the year in 2017, and then in 2018, I'm knocked off the shelf with the exact same product with someone that can, have the money for a Super Bowl ad. So that's why I'm like, the 15% is cool, but I would prefer if they actually supported Black-owned brands, because once you're in these stores, they don't pay for advertising. You have to pay for advertising. So now when you go to the meetings, they ask you, how much can you afford to advertise to support this product?
Right.
And it's gotten to a level to where they're choosing people to be on the shelf based on how much advertising dollars you can spend versus on if people actually like the product, because they feel like if people can advertise, people will purchase it. So I don't want to go left, but that's how I feel about the 15% challenge.
Yeah, no,
I can get on the shelf, but can you support it? And then two, will you not use my idea and then knock me off? I have a couple, we have a little Black creators. We all communicate on WhatsApp, and we, talk amongst ourselves, because we're not each other's competition. We have major conglomerates that are our competition, and we're literally fighting to stay on the shelf. We'll be innovative and have the ideas, but you come out with a honey line, and then the next year, L'Oreal has
everybody's
a honey line. This has a honey line. This person has a honey line, and then your honey line is pushed and pushed and pushed until it's no longer on the shelf. So
thank you for being
15%
so
pledge. Yeah.
No, thank you for being so real and honest, because I do think that what you're saying is the reality for a lot of smaller brands. And it takes that honesty and the courage to keep it 100, keep it real. And I think that definitely the industry has very far to go. I mean, my whole thing is on the supply side. There are so many people who sell shea butter products that are keeping people who look like me in Africa in very, very poor conditions. 16 million women across 21 countries. Everybody and their mama has a shea product. What about these women in these communities? So I completely agree with you. I think that there are a lot of systemic issues within the beauty industry that needs to be looked at and needs to be changed, from where you source to how the customer gets the product. The entire chain needs to be looked at. But I want to bring you into the conversation, Eve Carr, because I know that you've had tremendous success with Ulta, and they've been incredibly supportive of your brand. So I want to give both sides. If you could talk a little bit about, working with a retailer that actually partners with you to help you grow versus, the experience that Obia has had, which, to me actually took away from her business versus helping her business.
For sure. And Obia, thanks for sharing that, because that's been from the minute the 15% pledge was announced. That was my concern, that you could probably get 50% people on the shelves, but how do you help ensure sustainability, profitability? That's my favorite word, profitability, and growth. And part of why I love working with Ulta is because I was able to have very candid conversations from the onset with my buyer to say, I need to be profitable, not just on the shelf. And I made sure that we took the time to work through the numbers and made sure that it made sense for both of us. So one of the things that I love to tell entrepreneurs or anyone getting in any type of relationship is that you have to make sure you're clear on what your wants are. You have to be able to communicate that. And before you go ahead and partner with a retailer, with a manufacturer, with anyone, make sure you guys are aligned and that you have the same vision for the future. And that's what I love about Ulta. And many may have seen that, Ulta is doubling down on their investment in Black-owned brands, not only just from the shelf perspective. And I love that from the beginning, even before the 15% pledge, they asked, Evie, what specifically do you need? What would have been helpful even before you got here in order for your growth, to continue on? So having those candid conversations is important. The other thing I will mention is that we'll hear a lot about mentorship. And if you're like me, I can get very pessimistic about certain things, especially if I've heard it 100 times and I'm not quite seeing the quantifiable way it's going to help my business or my community. Beauty United came together during, the Black Lives Matter. And at first they started off, I think, focusing on helping companies figure out how they can be impactful for COVID. But afterwards, their next foray was to think about how do we really help mentor Black-owned businesses and make sure that they have folks who can help them grow. My mentor was the best thing ever. Forget money. That's all I needed last year, was to be able to ask very specific questions around my industry and have someone speak the same languages as me and not be too far removed, right? That when I say I have a challenge about something, that she can answer it. So don't discount relationships and mentorship. And even with the retailers that Kreyol Essence has been in, many folks say, how do you get indirect? I spent time to cultivate relationships that were authentic with folks all throughout the organization, which came from, my previous work world life, which is that was my job, to create relationships in very complex institutions. And I think being able to have those relationships helps get people vested in your success, whether you're Black or not, because they are able to feed into your vision and see where you want to go. And then you couple that with having very concrete ask about what you need. And I think that's been part of our success and trajectory at Ulta, but also in other areas, it's having that clear ask and that relationship.
That's amazing. And Michelle, I want to pull you into this conversation because kind of what Car is talking about is having the right people around you who have access to, what you talk about in your organization, which is privilege. And so you mentioned earlier in your statements that your co-founder is a white woman, and she's someone that you met at a Starbucks, and you both witnessed an issue and decided to take that moment and turn it into something much bigger. What is your advice for individuals who want to be allies, individuals who look at what's happening within our community, and when I say community, the Black community, and want to help us address some of those issues because of the privilege that they have access to?
The work has to be internal. I tell people all the time, you have to stop intellectualizing what racism is and understand that you have been conditioned from birth to hold racist views. I mean, I've had white friends my entire life who just assume because I'm their friend, that means that they can't be racist, that means that they can't do anything harmful. And then when I became an activist, it really woke up to say, oh my gosh, what have I been doing my whole life? What have I been using my privilege for? Am I using it to uplift people, or am I just going on about my life and staying in my comfort zone? And so you really have to look at the ways in which that it has impacted your life, from where you live, what you eat, the status of your health, the education that you received, the money that you make, the doors that open for you. Your race impacts that. And it's, going back to this, the question you asked earlier about, do we think that corporations, is this real? Is it not real? I have a bit of insider information because I work with corporations all the time doing speaking engagements. And I would say it's about 50-50. I would say a lot of it is intention versus impact. And they think that, again, because they're intellectualizing racism and they think it's outside of themselves, they don't see how they're also causing harm at the same time that they are claiming that they're trying to uplift our voices. So, the Walmart story, you gave her a place on the shelf, but because the individuals in your organization who have the power and privilege to make those decisions did not take a look at themselves internally and ask themselves, where do I potentially have racist thoughts and ideas and beliefs and even actions? At the same time that they were trying to help her, they were hurting her. And so that's why we in our speaking engagements, we take a very personal approach to this work and say, you need to do the internal work and read the books and watch the documentaries and follow the pages to understand what you are doing or not doing that is opening doors or closing doors. And white people have really woken up to it, and it's been really interesting to watch people move through that and say, oh my gosh, I thought that this whole time I've been an ally, but I haven't been looking at the ways that I have been conditioned to actually think a certain way about Black women, Black men. And so I really challenge people to say, if you want the system to change, that starts with you. People forget that a system is made up of individual people, and the system isn't going to change unless the individual person takes accountability and responsibility to do that change from the inside out.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, Karen, and come to you. We have a question in the chat and would love to get your insights on this, which is, where do you see the future of the natural products industry moving and heading into?
Yeah. So very specifically to us, we are moving, maintaining our natural focus and moving a little bit more into very clinically driven products that produce certain results. So it's like efficacy plus natural plus science for us as we're thinking about expanding. But I don't think it's going any place anytime soon, really. I think that beauty has always you can always tell where beauty is going by the places that it's sort of borrowing from. And as much as we think beauty is like, so ahead of the game and all of that, we're like so far behind. Like, look at how long the natural food movement
Hmm.
has been
Yeah.
on the radar, and people have really started thinking about like, what does it look like to eat localized? What does it look like to support farms? Um, those are all things that have been really simmering for a while, and they're certainly coming to a head now because there's so many other elements that are playing in. When I think about beauty and how like natural ingredients sort of merge into that, I look at like even the Pelotons of the world. I look at
Hmm.
the Whole Foods and the farmers market movements and all of that, and we're moving into this space where all of these things are being encompassed under the grand header of wellness. And I think because of that, we are going to continue challenging what we put in and on our bodies for a very, very long time. And as a result, I think natural isn't going any place anytime soon.
No, yeah, completely agree with that. Sarah, do you have anything else to add to some of the things Karen just shared?
Uh, I definitely agree. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. But I think one new area that is really challenging to all of our brands is sustainability and this whole idea of what is sustainable. Because that term is completely greenwashed right now. There's a lot of
Yeah.
bigger
Hmm.
brands, yes, lots of corporations coming out with what's considered and marketed as sustainable, but it's not necessarily sustainable in its manufacturing process, not necessarily better for the environment when you factor in all parts of manufacturing to end use to recycling. And it's also challenging for a small business because when we finally master the idea of natural and non toxic products and formulas, then now trying to move into sustainable packaging and
Hmm.
carbon neutral shipping, there is a huge cost that's added onto that for a small business because we're not necessarily purchasing in higher volume. We're also dealing with constantly changing environment and a lot of roadblocks to making that happen. So I think it's sort of like a new, I think that's sort of where the naturals was maybe 5, 10 years ago. Now it's this idea of like sustainability and how are we going to effectively innovate in that and in a way that's sustainable for a small business.
Hmm. No, I absolutely agree. And to Abia's point earlier, I see the industry moving, particularly with black led companies where we're partnering more with each other. And she said it so perfectly earlier, which is not seeing ourselves as competitors, but being able to work together. So, for example, Sarah, being able to partner with another black owned business or small business to help bring that cost down if you're doing sourcing something similarly, for example. And I think that that's one of the things that's exciting for me in the industry is seeing more of those partnerships, more of that information sharing, that guidance, so that we're not the only ones, and we're bringing as many people as possible forward. Because a lot of the issues that we see in our community, it's not going to be one brand that solves it, it's not going to be one individual that solves it, it's all of us working together. And so, with that, we're coming up to the end of our very precious time together. And I have one last question that I would like everyone to answer, sorry, which is, what are the habits that you use that propel your success? So, what are some of
Ooh.
the things that you do? Whether it's daily, weekly, whatever, that is part of that formula that allows you to be successful. And I will start with you, Abia.
So I think for me, the number one thing, honestly, is the power of positive thinking. I pray a lot.
Mm.
because there's a lot of things in business. There's no book for it. When you start business, you realize that, it hasn't been written before, and everybody's path is different and unique. And there's going to be an issue that's going to come up all the time. And so I literally have to, I set goals for myself. I break those goals. I put times on those goals, and then I think positively. If you have a bad day, think tomorrow's going to be better. All will be well. If you have an issue, you figure it out. There's a packaging problem, all kinds of issues. You have to think positively because you don't want to release those stress hormones and the negativity, and then everything will fall apart. So that's my number one thing, is to know that life will, give you curveballs in business, but if you stay positive, you'll find a way to figure it out and make your way through it.
Love it. And she had to bring the medicine into it. She was like, we don't want those stress receptors.
Catecholamines. No catecholamines around here.
Don't use no hard scientific words.
No, because you'll literally make yourself sick. A lot of people don't realize that. You will actually literally make yourself sick. You will bring down your immune system if you start to think negatively, because your body actually does release stress hormones. Your heartbeat will start to go faster, so on and so forth, and you set yourself down on a cascade of horrible. So you have to stay positive even in the most terrible situations.
Absolutely love that. Michelle, how about you? What's your habit? Your success
I need to piggyback off of her, because I've been reciting affirmations for a couple of years, and I'm telling you, it is a game changer. It will, like she said, it will completely change your entire day. I journal at night. Sometimes I journal in the morning about the intention that I want to set for the day, the attitude that I want to bring to the day. At night, I reflect on my day, and my affirmations are something that is so critical to me, because when I started this work, I didn't know what I was doing. I've never been a speaker before. I used to have immense stage fright. Talking about racism was something to me that was like, oh my God, I have a lot of white people in my life. This is so terrifying. And I told myself just every day, I wrote out my affirmations, I'm worthy of the money, I'm constantly growing. I have all these affirmations. Even just yesterday, I cut my hair a couple months ago, and it's at that weird stage. And yesterday I'm in the mirror with no wig, and I'm like, you are fucking beautiful.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you have to, you have to, because it is very easy. Like she just said, that negativity will absolutely crumble you. And it's important to have also a support system of people who will help lift you up. My family, my partner, they're so supportive. On the days that the affirmations don't seem to be working, even though I'm trying to recite them over and over and over again. Because like she said, no one gives you that roadmap, but if there is a will, there is a way, 100%. I think we are all, we're all what's the word I'm looking for? We're all doing it. We're all doing it. We didn't know what we were doing, and now here we are.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Karen?
For me, at first I was going to be like, well, I meditate every day, but that's a lie. I miss quite a few days. But I can definitely, pick up on where everyone's saying. But I also think one thing that I leaned into this year was giving myself a little bit of grace. I think that we overlook what it really takes to do this. In the same time that we are growing a business and challenging ourselves every single solitary day of this, I must be the smartest person. We all have to be the smartest people on earth right now. I know you feel this every single day. You're like, what? I never thought I would learn that. I never thought I would have any need for that understanding. You just feel like you're challenged every single solitary day. And that's not normal. I need to say that out loud, that it's not the normal experience to do that, because it actually puts our bodies under a significant amount of stress every day, to get up and have to figure out how to do something that we've never ever done before. And then the dial just keeps going up day after day, right? It was like, oh, good, you did that yesterday. That's nice. Now figure out how to fire someone,
Right.
So,
right.
There have been days when I'm like, I can't CEO today, or I'm really having a hard time. I had to figure out, where to find a bottle cap that has been no one could find for like the last 8 weeks or whatever. I've got to chase down this shipment. I've got to deal with customers. I've got to grow my business. And I have to figure out how to scale up my team and myself and the way that I think, all in the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
some days I order a burger and like watch Hulu. And I'm like, I got to give myself a little bit of grace. And then, you get back to it because it's who we are.
Yes, absolutely. Love it. Grace, grace, grace. Chioma, what
that
is
was
your
such a good one
success
for me to
habit?
follow up to, because it's definitely giving grace is really, really important. And I heard something said. I was in the room on Clubhouse the other day, and Ashton Kutcher was moderating. And one of the things that one of the founders said, she said that she never knew exactly how she was going to do everything, but she knew that she could figure out how to do it. And that was like the key to her success. So she had opened restaurants around the world. And I think that for me, it's really making sure that every day I'm nurturing that belief that I have the power within myself to get whatever I need to get done. And even if it's not me who physically does it, if it's finding the right person, asking the right question, getting myself to the right point where I can be successful in it, I know that I have it within myself to get there, and nurturing that belief in myself on a daily basis, whether it's through writing down manifestations, writing down affirmations, journaling at the end of the day, whichever many ways in which it takes form, really nurturing that belief has been the key to being able to get as far as I'm getting to now. Because business can be so demanding, both mentally, physically, and emotionally, because honestly, nothing can make me cry like my business at all. Nothing can make me cry like my business. I don't think I care about anything else enough. And so really making sure that you're taking that time on a daily basis to nurture that continued belief in yourself and to be your biggest cheerleader inside, because you can either be your worst enemy or you can be your best friend, and that voice inside your head is the only voice that you have to live with no matter what. So making sure that voice inside your head is one that is pushing you forward and propelling you and your business forward has been so essential to our continued growth.
Oh, absolutely. Love it. Love it. Eve Carr.
Yes. So Karen hit on so many of my like key things that I think people forget about being an entrepreneur or just trying to reach a next level, right? Because there are entrepreneurs in corporations, and then there's even the day-to-day things, or what people call day-to-day, of just trying to be a good mom, trying to be a good sister or brother. All of that really requires, and what I think everyone's talking about is wellness. And how are the ways that we can get to wellness to be our best selves? And we've heard the journaling, the meditation, the affirmations, all part of my toolkit. Being great, having grace with yourself. Type A, and people who are very focused, we're very hard on ourselves. So that's something that we have to be intentional about. And some ways that I also do these things is I am a podcast junkie. So Jay Shetty, Super Soul Sunday, Red Table Talk, Impact Theory by Tom Bilyeu, Sarah Jakes, TD Jakes, you got to throw Jesus in there. And one that from the business end, you talk about, how I built this. That's what me and Stefan listen to on Mondays. It's like mandatory listening at our home. And like to Robin Hood snacks. So what you're feeding into your mind is extremely important. So along with that, just making sure that you think about what you're learning is important. The other thing I think it's really important to do is to move. We often don't think about the connection between our body and our mind. Go for a walk, go for a run, exercise. Something happens when you move, and it's not just to be cute or fit into that dress, it's to keep yourself sane. So I think exercise and some form of movement, dance, or what have you is important. And the other thing, which is probably the cheapest medicine that most people also discount, is laughter. Get around some people who have joy and good energy. And I think I love seeing Black women and people of color get into wellness, because before it was thought as a very white thing to do, to be into crystals or to be into energy or to do yoga. But to see that incorporated into our culture, and that we're understanding the need for that to be a core part of ourselves in order to help others, I think is key. So laugh, journal, listen to good podcasts. And, when they say that you are the sum of the 5 people you most hang around, it's true. And then lastly, there's a Tony Robbins quote that I love, which is that we overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we could do in a decade. So with that being said, pace yourself in whatever your goal is. There is time. Just every day do a little bit more and you'll actually get there quicker than you think.
Absolutely. I always say this, which is brands are not built in years, they're built in decades. And I think a lot of people forget that. Yeah. Sarah, the last word.
Well, I agree with all of these. I feel like my entire entrepreneurial journey just like flashed before my eyes. All this is exactly, I agree with everything, but Michelle, you touched on this a little bit, the importance of community. So especially, last year, the second the pandemic hit and we knew we couldn't physically get together, it was like, even a few of us on this panel, we were immediately putting the virtual panels together. We were doing the support groups. We were like, let's just talk through this and support each other through the challenges. And what I've noticed is that over time, that's been some of the best support system in growing the business, because it's such a unique journey to go through, and no entrepreneurial journey is going to be the same. So hearing that certain challenges that each one of us are having, we can at least come together on some of those and at least support some of those challenges and come up with solutions. It's been really helpful. And then even the emotional side, just knowing like you're not the only one having a meltdown because your shipping carrier just shut down for the next like 6 weeks or something. Like, it's just like the emotional support, the logistical support, the knowledge that you get from a supportive community of other entrepreneurs, and really like staying connected and staying open to sharing resources.
I absolutely love it. So we've come to the end of our time together, and I am sending all of you amazing positive energy for the remainder of today, the remainder of the week, the month, the year. It truly has been an honor to just spend this time with you and learn more about your backgrounds. I am a forever fan of each one of you, Chioma, Michelle, Ivkar, Karen, Obia, and Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.